We're good.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yes, let's officially call this to order at 6:32 on March 25th. And let's begin with our acknowledgement of the land that we are all grateful to inhabit.
Hash Chesh Eskol. It is good we are together. We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous land of the Coast Salish peoples, who have reserved treaty rights to this land, including the Duwamish, Duh Duabj, Suquamish tribe, Duh Akwabj, Muckleshoot Indian tribe, Buckleshoot, and Snoqualmie Indian tribe, Stokwabuh. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. And we thank you for taking the time to know and understand the true history of this place, and to practice allyship in taking care of these shared lands. In good health. Hoi.
Thank you. And before we begin the work of this meeting, I think we should take a moment to recognize Women's History Month. This has long been a month to acknowledge the often overlooked contributions of women to U.S. history. From Abigail Adams and Sojourner Truth to King County's own history maker, Patty Cooterer, as well as the only Native American woman to currently serve in the State House, Deborah Lekenoff from the LD 40. We are grateful for their groundbreaking leadership and appreciate the impactful work they have done and continue to do for us all. It's obvious most of my political mentors have been women, and pretty much in every area of my life. And there's no way, there's nothing I can say that can convey the gratitude for the women in our life. So thank you very much. Um, with that, let's go ahead and display our agenda for the evening. Let's see.
That would be me. Give me a sec. It's my first time doing this.
No worries at all, Beth.
Um, Hold on. Sorry.
No
Super.
worries at all. We're all doing different jobs tonight.
Yes, that is so true. Oh boy, I found it. I'm going to do it.
Okay, looks like we have them up, yes. All right, so on this slide is the agenda, or not a slide, this is the agenda. As noted, there will be endorsement questionnaire considerations, a vote on the budget, and resolutions as well. We're also welcoming guest speakers that we spoke to earlier, our Democratic candidates for county level elections this cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and ask if we have any objections to the agenda. Okay, I'll ask two more times. Any objection to the agenda? And any objection to the agenda? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and consider these minutes approved by acclamation. Thank you. Great. Now I'm going to let's see. I'm skipping ahead. Let's approve the minutes. So let's get those minutes in the chat here or in shared, and I can put them in the chat.
Okay, hold on. Thank you for doing that.
All right, here are our minutes.
And guess what? That's not your minutes. So
No, here, that is a letter.
the letter.
I think I do have the link in the chat here.
Here we go. This is why Josh does this job and not Beth. There we go.
Perfect. Okay, cool. This is the previous business meeting from February 25th, 2025. Do I see any objections to the meeting minutes as shared through email, through displaying right now and in our chat? Any objections to the minutes as written? Any objections? All right, seeing none, we'll consider these minutes approved by acclamation as well. Thank you very much. Great. That brings us to the next part. I'm going to mention something several times during this meeting, and that is that we are fully supporting the April 5th Day of Action protests. Please check the King County Democrats calendar on our website for many options on how you can participate. We've noted 7 protests as well as a hands-off full list of rallies. So please go there. We plan to make appearances at as many of these as we can. We want to be there with you. So again, that's the April 5th Day of Action protests, which also means that our fundraiser to support the school board candidates has moved to Saturday, June 14th. Again, that means that our fundraiser will be Saturday, June 14th, as we will strive to come together on April 5th for our Day of Action and protest. Now, let's begin this evening's meeting with that out of the way with a few minutes each from some of our county office candidates. That's what we're really here for, right? So in order of when I saw people jump in, let's start with the Port of Seattle candidate for position 3, Hamdi Mohammed. Hamdi, please. Let's say, can we go with 2 minutes? Does that make sense?
That works for me.
Great, thank you.
Great. Well, let me just start by saying thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit tonight. As someone who had the honor of serving as secretary for the King County Dems under Chair Shasti Conrad at that time, I just wanted to express gratitude for the work that you all do, your dedication, the volunteer work that you do, and just the commitment to service. I appreciate that. 4 years ago, I ran for the Port of Seattle Commission. It was a countywide race, and it really was a grassroots effort. I challenged an incumbent at that time. We got our message out, and I received the endorsement of every LD, and there was about over 500,000 people who participated in that election. And since then, we have been delivering on behalf of the residents of King County. I am really proud of what we accomplished on the Port Commission with my colleagues. We passed a $5.6 billion capital improvement plan. That means more jobs for folks, good union jobs. That's more opportunities for our small businesses and more opportunities to contract with the port, as well as just having a better experience when you go through SeaTac Airport. Right now, you might see all the construction that's up, but at some point that construction will go down and you'll go through that airport smoothly. And so we're making those investments and I'm proud of it. We've also doubled our workforce development investments since I've joined the port. I've approved over $19 million for community programs, everything from environmental projects to job training initiatives. And so I'm really excited to continue that work and to be running for re-election. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And, thank you all for being a partner to us at the port.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. We're so proud of the work you've done, and thank you for serving this body as well in the past. Special shout out for me on that one. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to Toshiko Hasegawa.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. Thanks again for hosting this virtual forum. My name is Toshiko Hasegawa. I have the honor of serving as your Port of Seattle Commissioner in position number 4. Similarly, I ran for the first time 3 years ago as a first-time candidate. and considered to be the Democratic candidate in the race. At the time, I ran countywide, and similarly won 17 out of 17 legislative districts, had the sole endorsement of King County Dems, King County Young Dems. And so I'm incredibly proud to be here with you today as the first woman of Asian ancestry elected to the Port Commission. Is over 110 years history, in large part thanks to you all. Since we've been there, I'm a daughter of the labor movement and a product of the community that raised me. And I was raised to believe that economic empowerment leads to social justice. And coming from a historically redlined community, coming from a blue collar family, I wanted to join the Port of Seattle because it is the economic engine, the heartbeat of the region's economy. And the point where we came into office was at the outset of the global pandemic, and we knew it was an inflection point that could make a huge difference in the lives of our community members. We have a triple bottom line approach that not just the economy, but the economy and a thriving environment and equity are all strategies that go hand in hand. Integral to that is a clean energy transition, and at the cornerstone of the clean energy transition are capital improvement projects and infrastructure investments, all of which have been championed by the Democratic Party from the top all the way down to the local level. I'm so proud of what we've been able to do to create opportunities and safe spaces for our community members, fair paying jobs for workers, and contract opportunities for businesses. I'm running for another term, and I'm proud to have the early support from Governor Ferguson, AG Nick Brown, King County Council members, including Councilmember Sarah Perry, and would be honored to have your support as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It was great to hear from you, as always. Okay, who have we got? We have Ryan Calkins. All right, let's finish off our Port of Seattle candidates with Ryan Calkins. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. And thank you all for giving us a couple of minutes tonight to share a bit about why we're running for Port of Seattle Commission. Imagine in the sort of history of our period at the Port of Seattle, when you look at the role that I got to play, maybe it was just simply to demonstrate that you could beat an incumbent in these port races, which then ushered in the era of Toshiko and Hamdi coming in and having such extraordinary impact on the institution, from our internal culture to just representation for communities. And so maybe it helps to explain why I think we have such an extraordinary rapport on the commission right now that is demonstrating that we can get stuff done in government. And I think that's going to be a critically important part of the next few years as our federal government becomes unfortunately a retrograde government that's pushing us away from our goals around civil rights and environmental protection and justice. And I believe that that actually means that we need to be a bulwark for our communities where we can demonstrate that good governance leads to positive outcomes for our communities. And the Port of Seattle is a pretty special institution in our ability to do that. We are an economic development agency that's whose mission is to create opportunities for every family in our community. So I hope that you'll support my campaign for re-election as you did 4 years ago. It is truly the job of a lifetime, and I would love to be able to continue to fight for environmental justice and great jobs for members of our community. And I look forward to a robust campaign over the next 6 months as we make the case that we need to build again as we transition to this green economy.
All right, well said. Thank you very much, Ryan Calkins. This is our currently elected and running for re-election, our commissioners on the Port of Seattle. So thank you all very much for coming and speaking to us about the campaign. We appreciate it, and we'll be right alongside you. Next let's move right along to the King County Council candidates. Looks like we have Sarah Perry. Sarah Perry, please give us some time.
Hello, I appreciate being here. I'm Sarah Perry, King County Council, representing the voice of 250,000 residents of District 3, and I'm running for re-election to a second term. I have a far-right Trump supporter who has filed against me, the only one I know of so far. This year I serve as Vice Chair of the Council, Chair of Local Services and Land Use, and Vice Chair of the Flood Control District. I'm running for re-election because after listening to our residents for the last 3 years and working on their priorities, we have a lot left to do together, and I am excited to hold that position of calm in the storm together. My top priorities are the district's priorities, which I've learned from over 600 meetings with labor, tribes, nonprofits, first responders, nonprofit orgs, and community leaders, and 3,500 survey responses, and include safe and healthy communities, environmental protection, roads and bridges, housing of all types at all income levels, and support for small businesses and farms. Last year, I led the council in the update of our 10-year comprehensive plan, including the King County Strategic Action Plan ahead of the 2025 update. This year, I'm leading on critical areas ordinance on including wetlands, salmon, culvert, fire, and flood protection. Our campaign goal is 300,000. We've raised 100,000 and are on track for 200,000 by filing week. I'm endorsed by Congress members Schreier, Delbene, Smith, Jayapal, Governor Ferguson, 10 local mayors, Snoqualmie Indian Tribe, American Muslim Advancement Council, 4 firefighter laborers, LIUNA, BCTC, and more, 100 more community leaders, 100 more elected leaders. Our canvases begin April 5th and run every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 through October, and our campaign kickoff breakfast is April 8th at 8 a.m. at the Redmond Marriott. We're recruiting 36 table captains across the district. Bunch here will be there. Please let us know if you're interested. You can check out my website at electsarahperry.org. I want to thank you very much for inviting me to be with you today and for the leadership that you each bring on the King County Democrats. Thank you for standing shoulder to shoulder at this time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words as well. Let's move right along to District 1's Rob Dembowski. Rob.
Okay, it's hard to follow my colleague, Councilmember Perry, with her perfectly timed speech. My name is Rod Dembowski. I serve on the King County Council representing District 1. For those who I don't know and haven't met, I was born in Auburn, raised in Renton, graduated from Renton Public Schools and went off to college. Came back home and went to law school at the University of Washington, practiced law, and then came onto the King County Council. Lifelong Democrat, been a PCO almost all my life for the Democratic Party. And this year I'm chairing our Budget and Fiscal Management Committee. I think I'm like the kid on the Life cereal ad, for those of you that remember him, give it to Mikey. We're facing $150 million general fund deficit, and so I've been entrusted with my colleagues to work on that. Let me just touch real quickly on 4 issues that I've worked on and want to continue working on. First, in the environmental space, some of the best work that King County does. I was really proud to work to quadruple our funding in our Conservation Futures program by going to the voters and restoring that tax levy, and then adjusting the policies to be able to bring some money forward on debt. What we're doing there is protecting, with our land conservation initiative, the last great 65,000 acres of land in King County. It's a strategic initiative. It's good for the climate. It's good for our environment. It's good for our quality of life. And I'm really proud to have made a difference in that space. Second, transit. We have one of the best transit systems in the country, but we don't have enough of it. We're restoring service. We're making it cleaner and greener by electrifying it. I wrote the legislation to do that, but we've got to build toward our Metro Connects vision, and I think we need a new regional investment to do it. Third, on human services and housing, I'm proud to partner with Councilmember Zahalai on his $1 billion housing initiative. And I really believe the county needs to bring more focus to hunger. It's an area that I've worked on and want to continue to invest in. And lastly, but perhaps most importantly, I've been proud of my work on respecting the individual dignity and people's human rights. I wrote legislation establishing our Human and Civil Rights Commission, our Immigrant and Refugee Commission, and our Gender Identity and Sexual Inclusion Task Force. In this time of national attacks on people for who they are, I believe King County has to be a bulwark and stand up against the bully in Washington, D.C. I'm very proud to have had your support in the past. I'm proud of my endorsements, which you can see at voteforrod.com, and I would love to earn your support again. I don't have as good a timing as Councilmember Perry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ron. We've had, that's why we keep it at 2 minutes. And look, hey, it's working so far. Thank you so much for your words, and thank you so much for coming and speaking with us tonight. It does look like we also have, along with our council members, Councilmember Claudia Balducci.
Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be with you tonight briefly. My name is Claudia Balducci. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm running for King County Executive. I'm doing that because I want to continue to fight for our county to remain a place where everyone can live and thrive. It's getting harder all the time for people to do that, especially now when our values are under direct attack. Just a little bit about myself for those who don't know me. I come from a family of public servants. My mother's a retired elementary school teacher. My brother's a retired firefighter, and my stepfather was a retired court officer. After putting myself through college and law school, I worked as a legal intern first at the Northwest Women's Law Center, fighting discrimination based on gender and sexual orientation, supporting domestic violence survivors, and defending reproductive rights. Later, I worked for King County, starting at the ground level and ultimately heading one of our largest departments. In my spare time, I served on the Bellevue City Council for 3 terms, including a term as mayor, and I now serve on the King County Council. I think what I'm probably most known for is fighting for big things and overcoming tough opposition to get them done. In Bellevue, I fought the Battle of Light Rail. We overcame billionaire conservative business interests to open that train, and you can ride it today and across the lake by the end of the year. As mayor of Bellevue, I fought to create our very first permanent emergency homeless shelters in all of East King County, and that had to overcome significant opposition as well to support those most in need. At the county, I fought to dramatically expand affordable housing, creating thousands of new homes that are putting roofs over heads today and opening the capacity for hundreds of thousands more in the future. I know how to stand strong for our values, how to build partnerships, and how to get the hard things done, and I do not give up. I'm a lifelong Democrat, a member in PCO in the 48th for many years, a redistricting last round into the fighting 41st. I've been honored to be supported by our Democratic Party in past races, and I'm a proud former Magnuson Award recipient for statewide Democratic Elected Official of the Year. Thanks so much for letting me introduce myself a bit tonight. I look forward to getting to talk to you more at the KCDEMs and at the individual LDs, and I humbly ask for your endorsement.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to all the candidates who spoke tonight. We really appreciate you coming to us and saying hello and telling us what you're all about. We look forward to getting to know these candidates and their King County Democrats endorsement interviews that are coming up soon. So thank you. Thank you very much. We'll go back to our normal business now. Those of you who can stick around or want to, feel free. Otherwise, we won't hold our representatives and council members here. So we may have one more guest. We may interrupt the rest of our normal business for when they show up. So I will take this opportunity to mention one more time, we are fully supporting the April 5th Day of Action protests. Please check the KC Dems calendar on our website for many options of how you can participate. We've noted 7 protests as well as the hands-off full list of rallies. So again, that does mean that our fundraiser to support school board candidates has moved to Saturday, June 14th. Just want to make sure we get that out there. So now let's move to our slide deck and officer reports. So first up, I believe we have well, actually, let me take a look first. If we can get that, those slides shared.
Josh, I think I'm going to go ahead and use Diana's budget explainer
Oh, great.
and share that. Here we go.
All right, here's our treasurer, Diana Phillips.
So we've gone through the process of pulling together our budget and the budget committee for 2025-26. We now have a committee chair, a bunch of committee members, and as advisory going forward, we will continue to have Argo Strategies, who are our financial compliance folks that keep us on the straight and narrow and in compliance with the PDC. So Beth, if you can jump us forward one slide. What I want to do first is I want to roll everybody through what we've done through the end of February. I know this feels like super late, but this is how monthly accounting works. Fortunately, we have underspent our budget. Unfortunately, we have not pulled in as much revenue as we need to balance the books. So we are starting to dip into some of the funding that we have pulled together as reserve for us to bring on staff. So While we do have our operational reserve in place, and that is fully funded and secure, we are utilizing funds that will slow us down to bring on staff to be able to help out the officer team, and especially our lovely chair, who does so much beyond what the original stipend was built for. It just blows my mind. So we've got several committees that we just don't have people to pull in, and there's no time to bring on board folks. So we're not doing as much in candidate support and recruitment as we could be doing. We are not doing the social events that I know y'all would love to come and attend. We are not able to pull out the multilingual elements that we had hoped to pull together, because that also takes a little bit of funding. And we are we're not able to bring on as many new PCOs as we would love to do, especially in this particular moment. There are so many new people who are excited about joining and making change and connecting with those folks. Of course, unless they come to us, costs money to be able to send out texts and messages. So we're at that inflection point where we really do need to step up some of our revenue generation. Fortunately, we have enough still in the fundraising budget that we would be able to continue to fund the needs that we have for this upcoming fundraiser for our school board candidates. So we're in a good position there. Beth, if you can go to the next slide for me, please. I just wanted to go through a couple of quick reminders before we jump into the budget itself. We do use a financial milestone-based budget, which means that we've got multiple tiers. You guys don't see the tiers in the report. If anybody wants to see the tiers, I'm happy to share. treasurer@kcdems.org. But we have multiple layers for multiple funding goals. So we have options that the Financial and Budget Committee is taking a look at and make sure that we stay on track. And Beth, if we can go to the next slide. We also have quite a few checkpoints that are oversight to make sure that we are meeting those financial goals, that we are meeting our spending objectives, and that we're making good choices, excuse me, around who we're spending money with. So committee chairs have flexibility within their committees up to a certain level. Beyond that level, we have oversight from our lovely chair. And beyond that, we have oversight from the financial committee. And you all get the monthly readouts from us on exactly how the budget's lining up. And we also do twice yearly check-ins with our compliance folks to make sure that that everything is aligning the way that we want it to, and that all of the pieces that need to line up, that our revenue's on track, that we're meeting our obligations to the PDC, and that we are being as transparent as we can be with you all. All right, so next, y'all should have seen this in a PDF that came out in email a couple of days ago. You can see here that we've got the multiple tiers. There's the core tier, the basic tier. There's an initial staff tier because requirements for staffing pretty high, and that jump in the amount of money that we needed to raise between those two elements is pretty significant. And then we have a stretch goal, just in the off chance that we got lucky and somebody came by with a big old check. So you will also see that down at the bottom, there is a specific breakout for these special projects. The only special project we have right now, and this will be updated in the next treasurer's report, is that we've got the school board project, which we are currently planning a fundraiser for. Please come join us on June 14th. So special projects are required to be budget neutral, which means that the expenses that we have in relation to those need to be offset by actual revenues generated. So everything we do for the candidates that we want to support with this effort, we actually have to raise dollar for dollar. So I'm going to take a quick pause here. I know this is a lot of numbers. One thing that I do want to assure you all of is I know that that infrastructure number looks high. What we have done as an officer and committee chair team is go back through and look at all of the technologies and all of the things that we're using as core for making KCD go. We've looked at all of those. We've eliminated what makes sense to eliminate right off the top. And we have taken a look at if we don't meet our basic budget requirements, if we don't meet those revenue goals, what can we, with sad hearts, drop from the list? And there are a few targets, but we have identified some areas where if we had to, we could make some cuts in support of keeping us revenue neutral. The other thing that I wanted to include is that we've seen inflation starting to pick up in expenses. Vendors are starting to charge a little bit more for pretty much everything. So there is a little bit of a buffer already included in this budget for those inflation-driven expenses. All right. So this is the budget that we took through the Finance Committee. Finance Committee has approved this budget. The officer team and the committee chairs have all had their chance to look at these numbers and update and ask for whatever they needed that was in addition. And we're all aligned on this being the final way that we want to spend our money. So what I'm asking for this organization and everybody on the call tonight is that we would please pass this as our operational budget. We would start out at the basic tier and then adjust as necessary based upon the fundraising milestones that we meet on a quarterly basis. Josh, back to you. Unless folks have questions.
Yeah, any questions on this before we move forward? Thank you very much, Diana. Okay, seeing none, and you've not asked for any kind of vote, right?
I think that's the next step that we would need to go through is to get a vote.
Very well, then let's do that. I would entertain a motion to accept this. Oh,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chris.
I couldn't find I'm on my phone, the raise your hand button. So I'm curious about membership. I can't remember the membership within the organization and how many sustaining members, if any, we have.
We do not actually have like a membership per se. I looked for that in our, and there's no function for it in our bylaws. I looked for that because that is that's also something that we have in the 12th LD and we had in the 5th, and there's just no function for that in our existing bylaws. We do have a large number of recurring donors, most at the $1 to $5 monthly basis. I'm happy to send those numbers specifically if you'd like more detail. I don't have them to hand though.
Okay, and then the other last question I had is, you said about getting people, a staff or someone to do the events, something like that.
We've been looking for a couple of years now at getting a community organizer to assist kind of as someone to help with a lot of the overhead tasks that are taking officers away from their other assigned duties. And bringing someone in for that would be something that would be at the initial staff layer. So there's a whole suite of funding that would be required for that. We've got very specific standing rules and bylaws around what it would take to hire an actual person, including HR and an additional operational reserve to make sure that we're not hiring someone and then not able to pay them if something goes sideways.
It wasn't that you said something about party events which you all like to attend, that person, we didn't have that spot filled.
Oh, the social.
Yes.
Our social events. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
We're a little bit. Are you volunteering?
No, I'm wondering, because I do have another volunteer thing, but I'll pitch it to Beth later. If not, given where we are in the state of things, instead of it being social, we might address some of the attendance to protest and issues and calling it, for the state in which we're in now, something like the activation committee or something, where we're constantly on top of all the protests and things, or even initiating some. It just seems we're doing business as usual, and that's not where our country and county is. So I'm wondering if maybe that's sort of rethinking some of those things for where we are right now.
Thanks, Chris. We super appreciate your thoughts. They are in good company with many of us in the room. That's why you'll now find a KCDEMS calendar on the front line of our website. And we have begun adding protests and other events where we can speak out that are currently being organized by our partner organizations like Hands Off, Indivisible, other things that we are able to link to and mobilize as well. That will become a bigger part of what we do as we continue to get our feet underneath us. It's possible that we could organize our own level of protests, but right now, because that's not a part of our stated mission, we're doing our very best to amplify the work of our partners and figure out where we can add to it rather than make a duplicate effort. But we're right in line with you. Thank you.
Well said, Beth, and thank you for that discussion, Chris. Certainly with you there. I see Tyler. Thank you for waiting with a hand raised. I recognize you. Tyler, if you're speaking, you may be on mute.
Sorry. I got ahead of myself. I think you'd figure it out by now. If we're voting on this, Diana, I just have a few questions for financial accountability perspective. Would you mind just telling us what last year's budget and spend was, what the reserve is, and then if we're approving you going into basic, what steps are you going to be taking given that there are funding shortfalls and you're currently relying on reserve? I'm concerned about approving $116,000 expenses when we are struggling to meet fundraising. So I'd like to, if you could the guardrail, and I'm sorry, I was looking at the numbers and you probably explained some of this, but if there's a duty of care to vote on this, I want to make sure I understand that.
Those are great questions. Beth, can you flip back up to, I believe it's slide 2.
And again, I apologize. I know
Sorry,
it's
Beth,
when you're trying to vote on this, and I am asking you basics.
So this is our approved basic level for 2024 to 2024 to 2025.
Thank you.
And so the comparison here, there was in the 2024 budget included the basic included the initial staff, which is why I broke it out specifically for this year, because it just became a complicating factor. The other thing to note is in the 116 that includes $60,000 for special projects, which needs to be revenue neutral. So that 60,000 is very specifically only spent if we raise that money. So you can kind of take that off the top and bring it down to 55.
And is there any clarity now on what special projects is, or is it just a placeholder to be determined as we are able to secure? Because it is a 4.6 time bigger budget than we had last year.
Yes, it's the school power teams, and I see that Melissa has her hand raised.
Yeah, so I'm happy to speak both to the fundraising side of it and the expense side of it. As Diana very clearly noted, the 60,000 will only be spent if we have it. The things that we have proposed are in the volunteer sheet that I shared earlier, and I'll share that again in a moment. But the idea is frequently our school board candidates come to us very last minute. They may not know that they need to do a voter pamphlet statement and get a professional headshot or how to do that. So the first line of expense will be around making sure that our endorsed school board candidates have great voter pamphlet presentations. Then, assuming that we raise as much as we want to, we will look at the competitiveness of the various races and where we can make a difference, and are hoping to be able to do things like share digital advertising around our endorsements, as well as potentially shared yard signs, shared mailers, shared text messaging, depending on the dynamics of the races. I'm hoping that perhaps any opponents will look at this well-organized defense of our school districts and decide that they want to go play somewhere else. But for wherever we do have competitive school board races, we would like to be able to add on to the basic voter pamphlet to be able to do some of those other electoral activities. And as Josh mentioned at the beginning, we had been working towards an April 5th fundraiser, and really appreciate the support of the folks here who had already signed up for tables there. We have moved that out to June 14th. The fundraising is going well. I would love to be able to actually show you a snip of the Act Blue. We have raised over we've raised $5,453 in March. So compared to previous months, which were all less than 2,000. So we've picked up fundraising this year, and I am very hopeful that we will fully fund this. Eventually, I always keep my eye on the Harris County Democrats, which is a slightly larger county, but they have 6 full-time staff and several $1 million of budget. And so that's what I'm hoping we're building towards, but taking it one step at a time. So hopefully that helps.
Tyler, I think you also asked about the operational reserve. And so Beth, if you can scroll back down to slide 5. You can see down at the bottom, kind of in the italics and in the gray, it's a little bit small, but the operational reserve is tracked there. We do have enough funds in the bank right now because we have that reserve that we were building towards hiring staff. And so there's enough money in the bank. It's just that my preference is that we stay revenue neutral and not dip into those funds ever again. But and I'm super excited that Melissa is here and doing the work that she's doing to help push us more towards that as an achievable objective. But you can count on me for every month coming back to you and letting you know whether or not we're dipping into the operational reserve, because it does in fact require a vote of this body, if I remember correctly, to actually dip into the operational reserve portion, which would be the last less than $5,000 that would be in the bank.
Are there any other questions on this? Good questions, good discussion so far. Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept the budget as it stands.
Make a motion to accept as
All right, we have Eric. And Melissa, go ahead.
Second.
Melissa seconding, great. All right, I will ask 3 times any objection. Any objection?
Yes.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, sorry, I was walking the dog. I do object.
Okay, so shall we go into conversations? Should we do 1 minute on each side, perhaps? Let me see first if there's someone willing. I mean, Diana, I'm sure you're willing to speak to the budget. Anyone else specifically want to speak to this budget? Okay, then I see Beth has raised her hand. Shall we start? Does it make sense to start with Chris? And maybe we want to do 1 minute each? Does that make sense? Kat, are you ready with a timer?
Oops, hang on one sec. I put it back in the drawer.
No problem. Thank you.
And is it 1 minute, you say?
Does that make sense to everyone? I think 1 minute should be fine for this purpose. Yeah. So it looks like we have our timer here. Chris, whenever you're ready, please feel free to go and we'll start the timer.
Okay, thank you. Chris Porter, 34th LD, and I rise in opposition to this budget, and I know it'll probably pass, but I think I would be remiss without saying the country's on fire, the county is in a deficit, and we're going along business like it's usual. I'd like to see some different priorities on what we can do, where we should be going, how we end up doing a much better thing than what we're doing. If we're going to go down fighting in a deficit, that's what I want to do, is go down fighting. So I'd love to see clear priorities around addressing the issues as they stand now. I know we're in partnership, but to me, that's not good enough. We have a body, we have voice. We should be thinking about those urgent priorities plaguing the country, plaguing the county, plaguing cities, and doing something about it. We still can get the business done as usual. And so that's why I rise in opposition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Let's see, we have our timer reset. Beth, were you wanting to speak in favor of this?
I'm happy to let Diana speak if she'd prefer. I'm not sure what's more appropriate.
Go ahead, Beth.
Thanks. Okay, super. I appreciate Chris's comments, and it's stuff that I grappled with as well. But I assure you that the focus of this budget is to be minimally using money raised for expenses, but they are fairly significant for managing the data and all of the technical things that this body does. So doing the bare bones of that, which Diana has culled through really beautifully to make sure we're only paying for what we absolutely have to, and then piling all of the rest of the money into candidate support. I believe that our focus is electing Democrats up and down the ballot and doing that with a huge effort. And that means really working on making our bench blue. So we've begun with our school district candidates, and we'll expand to city council if we're able to, but in making sure that we're challenging every race, contesting every seat that we don't already hold, and being present with a big loud voice is how I hope we can use the well-earned money. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you very much for that as well. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Beth. Are there any other speeches in opposition to the budget proposal? Any other opposition? Any other speeches in opposition? Okay, let's consider these speeches closed. Being that this was a challenge motion, shall we, and Beth or someone feel free to jump in here. Are we going to go to our green checkmark red X situation?
Yes.
Correct, we will.
Excellent. Okay. Then let us prepare to vote. This is something that I don't know if I have the tools available. I would like to ask Chair Beth if you would care to supervise this vote.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate it. It's not often that we get to do that. In fact, I'm not sure we have done it yet. So at this time, what I'd like to ask everybody in the meeting who has an asterisk next to their name, so our guests don't unfortunately have a vote in this, but all of our voting members are credentialed with an asterisk next to their title or position, for instance, your LD, or if you're a King County voter, to take a moment and go to their lower toolbar where you see React. There are 5 boxes. 2 of them are a green check or a red X. And at this point, we'd like to take 30 seconds, maybe a full minute, to ask you to vote with your green check to approve the budget or your red X to not approve this budget, and send us back to the drawing board on that piece. Either way is good. We just hope that everybody with a voting credential will participate. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Beth. So yeah, I'll just give about 30 more seconds here and see where we're at. Thank you. Do we want to go ahead and share the budget or the treasurer report here? / budget, proposed budget.
Absolutely. I'll bring that right up.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like the votes have stabilized, Josh. We have 34 votes from credentialed members, yes. That make that 35 votes from credentialed members, yes, and 1 vote, no.
Okay, looks like the noes will not overcome. So seeing that this motion passes, the budget is approved. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for the comments for and against this. This is a crucial part of keeping us active. So thank you so much. Feel free to undo your react here. Unless we have a way to clear them all. I don't know if that's possible.
We do. I just did.
Fantastic. Thank you, Melissa.
Yep.
Okay, and that actually brings us to our vice chair for fundraising, Melissa Taylor. If you might give us our, finance bit.
Hi, I'm back. Conveniently, we pulled some of the content forward, but our big focus right now, Beth and I spent 2 hours calling people on Saturday. I'm like, I don't even know what day it is anymore, but we have another 2 hours of call time scheduled on Thursday. So we are working hard to bring the money in. Thank you to the LDs that have already committed to tables at the event. We're really excited about this event at Highline College. We went to visit the facility. It is a gorgeous facility in Des Moines. So great opportunity to go support an educational organization in South King County. Really hope that every LD will come together and build a table. One fun fact for those of you who were not here in 2017 and 2018, it used to be that LDs owed dues to King County Democrats. So when you were asking about members, we historically, because we are this central committee, our members were the LD organizations, the ones you represent here voting. And when Shasti became chair, we eliminated the dues from the LDs. However, we would love if you could help with supporting this engagement. Seeing 500 of our favorite Democrats in the county would be great. So if you all, as your assignment from tonight, can go back to your LDs and your e-boards and make sure that your organization, whether they do it through the organization or through recruiting people, you can even do it through emailing your lists, right? Just email your list and say, hey, we are building a table for King County Democrats. We're really excited to see everybody there. My guess is that if you guys are all emailing your list, working your e-boards, that you can put together a table of 10 people. And that is what I am really hoping folks here will do. We are also calling organizations, the education associations, our allied organizations. We are asking the local consulting community to pitch in. So we really are working hard to make sure that we have robust support for this organization and for our work in the school boards. We did elect people in King County who had values that are not ours. And they are targeting taking school board seats again. We are seeing that all throughout the county, particularly in Eastern and South King County. So please, 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 if you can, join us on what is now June 14th. And Kat, do you have a link to the fundraiser RSVP, or do I need to get that to you?
I think I dropped that into the chat.
Yeah, it's there.
There it is. Okay, sorry. I saw the donate to Casey Dumb's basic. You are also welcome to donate extra money by going to the basic Act Blue that Kat joined in the chat. It just mind scrolled, Kat. So in any case, as I mentioned, we've had a really good month so far, really hoping to raise in our ideal world, $100,000. You saw it in the budget that Diana more conservatively put us at $60,000. But really appreciate everybody here's help in getting there. Any questions about fundraising? All right. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Melissa. Awesome work there. This will bring us to our endorsement chair, Kat Pitkin. Do you have an endorsement report for us? You are on mute, Kat.
Yes, indeed, we sure do. Let's see, Beth, if you could pull up our slide, and then let's spotlight myself and also Dean, so that if there are any questions.
The committee report, Kat?
The slide.
Oh, I didn't even bring up the slides. I brought up your report.
In that case, never mind. Here we go. Just drop everything in the chat. How's that? Folks want to take a look at the report.
I can share that, Kat.
Sure.
This guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to zoom in? That's might be a little small. I think probably Chris on his phone is not going to be able to read it. Okay. Upcoming elections. The next election cycle for us here in the state of Washington is the special election on April 22nd. We have county, school district, and special purpose district ballot measures. We've linked them in the report. No endorsement recommendations yet to pass through. We do have a packet we'd like to go through for folks. Beth, could you just go ahead and open that for us?
I sure can.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, so as usual, we open, oh, we had it. It was up.
Oh, went away. Let me bring you back.
That's okay. We had the traditional common questions for the Seattle City Attorney. These are 3 questions that are on everything but judicial races. Go ahead and scroll on down. Just 2 questionnaires in the packet this month. Seattle City Attorney, which we felt warranted its own questionnaire. Mad props to Dean and Beth and a number of others who worked on that. And then the other questionnaire is municipal court judges, and we actually created a new questionnaire here. Judicial officers have their own set of preliminary questions for all judicial races, separate from our normal, are you a Democrat? And secondly, we devised new municipal court judge questions. Do you want to interrupt so that our guests can speak, or shall I keep going? Beth, or excuse me, Josh.
I see that. Let's see. How much longer do you have? If we get through this, we can let our guests speak right after.
I'll tell you what, we can get through this pretty quickly. So we had the 2 packets, or the 2 questionnaires, both went out in the packet. They went out on in the reminder on Saturday. Last items in our report are that we need to remind folks that if you, all committee members and any LD committee members that intend to attend the interviews need to sign the confidentiality release, and then committee members also need to sign their conflict of interest forms. And I would remind our LD chairs or our KCD reps to take back to your chair, please make sure you forward over your LDs, endorsement committee members, so we can ensure that they have access to questionnaires and can be invited into the process. That's it. With that, we formally ask or move, and I believe second, that this report, or that we vote on packet 4 of questionnaires, but we can defer that until after our guest speaks.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring up our guests, and I'd like to introduce someone you may know, King County Council Member Gurmai Zahalai. So please feel free to unmute and speak to us, Gurmai. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josh. Can everybody hear me? Thumbs up.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm in my car. You know how it is, campaign life. So good to be here with all of you, King County Democrats. Thank you so much for the time today. My name is Gurmai Zahalai. I'm the chair of the King County Council, and I'm running for King County Executive because I believe King County can be a place of safety and opportunity for everyone, regardless of circumstances. And I believe this because I've lived it. You know, effective local government is the exact reason that I'm where I am today. Effective local governments helped me go from South Seattle low-income housing projects and homelessness to practicing law and representing my community as the chair of the King County Council. But I'm running today for King County Executive because those opportunities that helped me are out of reach for way too many people. We know that the cost of living is astronomical. We have a massive shortage of affordable housing. We have behavioral health issues in our community. And now we have a federal government that is absolutely making everything worse. We have a bad budget situation, and the actions of the federal government for King County are making a dire situation even worse. As King County Executive, I'll work hard to protect King County and make it continue to be a beacon of hope and opportunity. I'll work to expand affordable housing, improve public safety, support good union jobs that pay a living wage, and protect our environment. I'll also ensure that King County continues to be a place where all people, regardless of immigration status or their gender identity, can find a place of home and safety here. As a King County Council member over the past several years, I've lived up to these values, and I feel that I've had a very productive 2 terms working with all of you. You might know some of my legislative victories, from increasing the minimum wage in King County to proposing and passing King County's version of social housing, aka the Regional Workforce Housing Initiative, passing a suite of historic tenant protections and eviction prevention legislation, being the prime sponsor and champion of the Crisis Care Centers levy, proposing and passing several criminal justice reforms through the Charter Amendments for Justice campaign, King County's missing middle housing legislation, and several other gun violence prevention initiatives. As executive, I'll continue to work aggressively to ensure King County works for every single one of us. Our campaign is going really well so far. We're endorsed by our Democratic governor, our Democratic attorney general, our Democratic leaders like Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal. We're leading all candidates in fundraising and endorsements and tribe endorsements from unions and elected officials, and it would be an honor to receive the support of the King County Democrats as well.
Thank you very much, Council Member. And that was my fault for not mentioning the 2 minutes there.
Oh, sorry. I was just blabbering on and on.
Totally my fault. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day campaigning. And we look forward to seeing you at endorsements questionnaire. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks out to all our candidates. If any are still remaining, I do see that Tim Burns has raised a hand. I'll recognize you, Tim.
Thank you very much. A quick question. If one of the council members is elected as county executive, what's the procedure for filling the vacant council position?
My understanding, Tim, is that that vacancy is filled by their chief. So you may have read in the paper today, and it looks like Gurmai is still online. Can I ask you to hop back in real quickly? Thanks. I thought we lost you. Apologies for speaking over you.
No worries at all. So, Tim, if the question is about how council member vacancies are filled, that's different than how the King County executive vacancy is filled. If I, for example, this November were to be elected to as King County Executive, and I vacate my King County Council District 2 seat, the next executive, aka if that's me, would get to nominate 3 people from who live in the district, and then the King County Council by majority vote would select out of those 3 for who replaces them. You might be familiar with this process when Dave Updegrove was elected to be the state public lands commissioner. Dow Constantine recommended 3 people, and out of those 3 people, the county council, out of a majority vote, selected Deshaun Quinn to replace Dave Updegrove.
Thank you.
I ask for clarification on who then would serve as council president?
If I were to move and be elected King County Executive, we have 2 vice chairs, and the vice chair who would take my place is Councilmember Sarah Perry. Yeah, we have a succession plan. Thank you, Beth.
Thanks very much. And again, apologies for speaking over you. Thank you. Excellent question, Tim. Thanks.
All right. I also see we have a hand from Charlotte Kate Amaro. I'll go ahead and recognize you. Charlotte.
Thank you. I actually, that little addendum at the end of Chair Baisley's question was what I was that was my understanding as well. So it's glad to get that out of the way. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Good to have a second on that. Speaking of second on that, if there are no more questions on this, I think we can return to our previous business with a motion on the floor and a second due to the recommendation of the endorsement committee. I would any objection to the motion to approve the questionnaires as submitted by the endorsement committee? And I see a hand from Hunter Brown.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend the 5th question on the Seattle City Attorney questionnaire.
Get that back up and shared, please.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Beth.
Bringing it to you.
All right, you said that 5th?
Yes, thank you. I would just like to strike the first sentence and instead ask if and how their views may differ from the Democratic mayor and current city council, and how they plan to work effectively with them on views that they do not align with.
Okay, so you're basically, advocating to remove kind of the sort of commentary. Democratic City Council adopted a more moderate stance. So basically to make this apply for anybody who has different views.
Yeah, less presumptive, I guess.
Okay, so do you have a suggestion for the exact rewrite here? Could you maybe put that in the chat?
Yep, I can put that in the chat.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Hunter. And while that's happening, I see Mary also has raised a hand. Mary?
No, did that need a second or anything? No.
Oh, I don't think we're quite there yet, Mary, but
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. What's the word? Proactivity. All right, let's look at the actual as soon as Hunter has typed this up, that way we can kind of all look at it at once here. Yep, sorry for the dead air here. Sort of unavoidable and no rush. We want to get this right. Okay, Hunter has suggested amending point 5 here to how do your views align or differ from the current mayor and city council? How would you work effectively with the council and mayor, which may not align with all of your views?
Say, Josh, can you drop that in the chat for everyone? I'm thinking probably chat was not open to everybody prior.
Oh, yes, it is sent directly to me. I will put this in the chat.
It's edited now. If you'll just drop it in. There we go.
I apologize for jumping in while I'm screen sharing. I can't quite find how to raise my hand. But I would like to make a note that a best practice of creating a interview question is to ask only one question at a time. If we were to rewrite it that way, it would be 2 rapid fire questions. So if my understanding is correct of what Hunter is getting at, I understood it to mean that he would like to not make a statement that is a value judgment. What if we simply eliminated the first sentence and asked them, if it were the case, how would you work effectively with a council and a mayor that may not align with your views? Since that is the operative part of number 5.
Okay. Hunter, how do you feel about that? Because we currently technically sort of have 2 possible amendments here. But I wanted to see what your thought is if we want to adopt that.
Yeah, I would be fine with just striking the first sentence. I do think my first question might also hold value to just ask them other areas they may differ from as like maybe a final question. I guess like could I do that as another amendment to tack it on as question 9 or something?
We won't actually, I'd rather we did not add additional questions. It's a very lengthy questionnaire already. But if the question of working effectively in a situation where you are not among the majority or have differing views, if that is valuable, I'd like to keep this question. If you think it's not a valuable question to ask, then perhaps we strike the question completely.
Okay, so we are at. Okay, yeah, we're discussing 2 amendments sort of at the same time, an amendment and amendment to the amendment. So I guess what I was trying to do here was come to some kind of consensus so we can maybe only vote on one. But if that's not the case, looks like we should take Beth's amendment first. Alex, do you want to speak to that?
Well, I guess first of all, the one thing we need to do is before we even talk about either of these amendments, they both need a second. Neither of them have been seconded yet, so I think that is the first thing that needs to happen. And just for simplicity's sake, I will second both amendments, and then we can just go to discussion of Beth's amendment to Hunter's amendment. After we conclude the conversation about Beth's amendment, then we would have a conversation and vote about Hunter's amendment.
Very good. And before we do that, Kat, do you have a point of order or a question here?
I'm not sure, and Alex, you'll have to tell me if I'm off base here, but I'd like to withdraw this questionnaire from consideration this month and just remove it from the packet. Go back and allow people, there's clearly some more conversation to be had around this questionnaire. And would like to invite Hunter and anyone from any other LD across the county, but particularly in the city of Seattle, to participate in the question drafting process if they wish. Can I do that?
So my understanding is that would be up to the chair whether or not he wants to allow you to withdraw, or the person who's chairing the meeting, whether they want to allow you to withdraw the amendment or withdraw the questionnaire, or whether that would need a vote.
Tyler, do you have a point of order?
I just have a question about timelines because as LDs were, when this would be voted on, when's our next executive board meeting that we could approve it? I'm just thinking about backing into the endorsement schedule for LDs around the city attorney race.
That would be our next meeting at the end of April. But the endorsement committee has been meeting weekly and prior to that monthly since last summer. So lots of opportunities.
All right, Kat. So since you did bring this before everyone, there has been some motions. I think if you're withdrawing it, I think we can call it that. We can say you have withdrawn this from consideration for this time, and we will revise it. And like you said, endorsements folks have been working on this every week, so we'll prepare it for next month. Does that work?
Okay, yeah, we'll just withdraw the full packet and resubmit the packet with amended content with further contributions. That's
Perfect.
great. Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, Jackie, I recognize you.
Actually, Kat maybe just answered my question, but I was going to ask, couldn't we maybe split it up and leave the municipal judges packet and only pull the attorney race? Because it seems like that's where the controversy lies.
Yep, that makes sense to me. I think we can accept this in partial, especially since it's split up between different different jurisdictions, different jobs. Kat, how do you feel about that? This is
Yeah, that's fine. I was trying to make it clean. There are only, Dean, help me out. There are only a few to have to pop over to the spreadsheet and look. There aren't many municipal judicial races out there, which is why I thought it would be a little tidier. Jackie, perfectly happy to bring that municipal questionnaire forward.
Thank you.
okay. Hearing that, do we just want to make a motion to accept the municipal section of the endorsement questionnaire?
So moved.
All right. Do we have a second?
This is Beth seconding.
Okay. I heard Beth and Ricky seconding, Jackie with the motion. Is there any we have a hand from Hunter Brown.
Just point of clarification, you said municipal, but I think you meant judicial and municipal. Is that correct? Those two parts?
I just said one word of the 3-word title, which is municipal court judges.
Oh, okay.
Right, just this portion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Hunter, for the clarification.
All right. Any objections to accepting the municipal court judges endorsement questionnaire questions? And any objections? And any objections? All right, seeing none, we have accepted the municipal court judges endorsements questionnaire, and then we will revise the others and get back to the group next month. Excellent. All right, thank you very much, Kat. That will bring us then to the state committee representatives, Lisa Rivera, Jurista. Thank you very much for being here.
Good evening, everybody. Drew, there's Drew. Hi, Drew. I think Drew might have the bulk of the reporting, so I'll let him go first.
Sure, that's no worries. Happy to report. I think we obviously have been in between meetings since the last time we both were in front of y'all. So the Central Committee has not met in that time period, but we did, as far as I remember, miss our report last month. So a quick update that both of us have been assigned to our committees. So I'm on rules, Lisa is on resolutions. These are by and large the two most impactful committees within the Central Committee, with advocacy a little bit behind that portion and affirmative action sort of right in tow there too. But really pleased to have that on sort of both directions. So resolutions will meet coming into the Central Committee meeting once we're a little bit closer. And rules has already been meeting several times. We've met, I believe, 4 individual times at this point to discuss the delegate selection plan that's going to be coming forward for the 2026 convention process. I am pleased to say that the chairwoman asked me to do the initial drafting of the plan, so we are closing in on that final drafting process. That plan will be out for public comment and review, hopefully this week, maybe early next week at the latest. But we'll overview sort of the basic premise of how the 26 plan will work, how the 26 convention will work, and all those pieces. It largely looks a lot like the 2024 convention did with some tweaks. So keep an eye out for that. I will be looking forward to a lot of feedback from folks on that one. If you have any questions about the process, please feel free to reach out. I'll also be circulating it to PCOs within King County to get their feedback. I know the delegate selection process had a lot of components that affected King County folks pretty directly, and would love to sort of preempt those conversations and make sure that all that feedback is incorporated and discussed in advance. In addition to the delegate selection plan, May is shaping up to be what looks like a very, very busy meeting. There's a number of agenda items coming forward, including a resolution that I think most of the state committee members on the call will have seen, to request vote builder pricing be dropped to 0 for all candidates. So we expect that that would be a point of discussion at the Central Committee itself. We are also expecting a move to allow September meetings of the Central Committee to be virtual. So going forward, the Central Committee can meet virtually at specifically September meetings. instead of having that regular meeting. So that would involve a bylaw amendment as well as potential standing rules. There's also a significant set of revisions for the state party's constituency caucuses to break those caucuses into two groups instead of all of them being within one umbrella. They would be constituency caucuses, which would be what is sort of imperfectly referred to as immutable trait characteristics. Things that you think of, the Black Caucus, the Hispanic Latino Caucus, et cetera, would be within that constituency caucus umbrella. And then all of the other caucuses would be moved into a new category called issues councils. So those issues councils would include groups like the Environmental and Climate Caucus, right? So that there's a little differentiation there and allow for growth on the issues councils space without impeding the constituency caucus representation space. So trying to figure those portions out. In addition to that, there's going to be the requisite resolutions, of course. I'm trying to think if there's anything else definitely on the agenda coming forward. Those are the big ones, and that's enough to sink a meeting on a good day. So keep an eye out for those pieces. Once we get a more formal agenda in the call to meeting, which should be coming out here in the next week, because it comes out 30 days prior, either Lisa or I will forward along to everyone what that agenda looks like and some of the identified items of business, because we'd love feedback from folks on what we're looking at and going into that meeting. Oh, of course, the big thing that I'm forgetting, the budget. State party has to have a budget conversation too, as we all just had here. So that same conversation is going to be repeated at the state level as well. And that is one, I'll pass it over to Lisa at that point. Lisa, being on exec, has seen the budget more in depth than I have at this point, and we'll have some more there. But Lisa, anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, thank you. As you mentioned, I have been assigned to the resolutions committee. So we had one meeting so far. It was a kind of just get to know you meeting for all the members. We went over a few items, such as the rules for resolutions, mini resolutions, the life cycle of a resolution. And I'm going to throw I'm going to throw those links in the chat so you can see the slides. Also, a recording on how to pass a resolution that was made by a lot of people might have heard of the Democrats University. The state party is holding different workshops and sessions for us. You can learn all the ins and outs of almost everything our state party does. So one of those was how to pass a resolution. So I was recording on that, as well as a link to some slides. As you mentioned, I'm also the CD7 representative to the Washington State Executive Committee. And that is where we have taken a look at the budget so far, and that will be coming back. There was not going to be an April meeting, but because the March meeting went so long, we are going to have an April 1st meeting as well to take another look at that budget before it gets approved there to then go to the state committee in May. We are also discussing the possibility of a September virtual meeting. I have sent out my report as the CD rep goes out to the state committee members that are all in CD7 to solicit feedback about that. I don't know if any of you are on that since you're all probably KCDCC reps, but some of you might know about that. So if you talk to your state committee member, remind them to reach out back to me and let me know what they think about the possibility of September virtual meetings. And the next resolution committee meeting is going to be April 16th or 17th. I don't know if it's been decided yet. That was thrown out at the meeting last. Again, though, I'm going to throw some links in the chat for you to read up on your own time. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to Drew or I. I'll put emails in the chat too. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Drew. Before we move on, any questions for our state committee representatives? Okay, great. Thank you both very much for all your work here. And we'll move right along to our resolutions committee with our chair, Carrie Bosworth. Carrie.
Hi, good evening, Chair. This is my first time. We have a couple of resolutions. If you could help guide me on how we proceed, that would be great.
Sure. So we can basically take the first resolution, show it here. Basically, we can talk about where it came from if you have any history. And then we typically just read through it from start to finish.
Okay. This first resolution affirming transgender rights, was presented by multiple LDs and is based on earlier work from Pramila Jayapal and her work on a transgender bill of rights. And we have updated it to make it specific, to sort of bring the versions together and present it from the King County Dems.
Perfect. All right. Yep. Feel free. We typically just go right at the start and yep, read through.
Okay. All right. I'll read it from my screen here. Resolution affirming transgender rights. Whereas we affirm the right of all members of our community to live the gender that feels most authentic to them, whether or not it's the gender they were assigned at birth, as part of the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to which we are all entitled. Whereas our government at every level has a duty to protect the rights, dignity, and very existence of all people, including transgender, non-binary, intersex, and other gender expansive people. Whereas transgender, non-binary, and other gender expansive people are especially vulnerable members of our society, experiencing disproportionately high rates of unemployment, poverty, housing instability, violence, mental illness, and suicide. Whereas actions are being taken at all levels of government to infringe upon the rights of transgender, non-binary, and other gender expansive people by limiting their right to serve in the military, their access to passports and other government documentation, and the ability to participate in sports according to their gender identity. Whereas actions are being taken to criminalize the affirmation of transgender individuals' identities at all ages, outlaw or eliminate their access to gender-affirming healthcare, and impose heightened risk of sexual abuse and violence against trans women in federal prison by relocating them to men's prison against their will. Whereas King County is home to families and communities who are particularly impacted by the harmful focus of the current federal administration on transgender and gender expansive children and young people, making parents unable to make decisions with their healthcare providers for the well-being of their children, or educators unable to safely support and welcome every student in schools. Whereas King County's LGBTQ+ community is alive and well, and acknowledging that transgender, non-binary, and other gender expansive people have always existed and shall always exist. Therefore, be it resolved that the King County Democrats affirm the existence, dignity, and human rights of transgender, non-binary, and other gender expansive people of all ages and will continue to advocate for their safety and well-being. Therefore, be it further resolved that the King County Democrats urge our elected leaders to stand with the transgender, non-binary, and other gender expansive members of our community and vigorously defend their lives, dignity, autonomy, and well-being. Therefore, be it finally resolved that the King County Democrats direct its secretary to send a copy of this resolution to the offices of all King County council members, King County Executive Dow Constantine, our state senators and representatives, U.S. Senator Patty Murray and U.S. Senator Maria Cantwell, and urge our members to contact their legislators in support of this resolution.
Great. And again, I do want to mention, Carrie, this is your first at this meeting, and she's already doing a great job with her resolutions. And so I just want to thank you for being here and standing up and helping us out here. Awesome job. And with that, because this has received attention from our resolutions committee, that counts as a second, or sorry, as a motion and a second. But I see we have a hand up from Carol. I'll go ahead and recognize you, Carol.
Unmute. Okay. Two things. First of all, I want to remark that these transgender people are just the first enemies, and this is like divide and conquer, and who knows who's next, right? We should stand up for everyone before there's no one left to stand up. Now, the second thing I wanted to mention was I didn't see in the last paragraph about sending it to our congressional representatives. And I wonder if we could include that.
Yeah, Carrie, what do you think? It looks like we already have
Thank
to you. Okay, I see. And urge our members to contact their legislators in support, but we are not necessarily sending, to the offices of all King. Oh, yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Prior and stuff, yeah.
Right. Okay. Do we want to make a motion to adjust that?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Seconded by Beth.
All right. It looks like we already have this happening. So is there any, let me just ask, is there any, I can't even think of the word, anyone against amending the resolution here? And I'll ask.
Could I also ask, instead of all members, maybe our members? Because I don't think we need to
Oh, right.
contact all hundreds of them.
Sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just consider that a quick edit there. That makes sense. Okay. Again, I'll ask any opposition and any opposition. And this is just for the motion to amend. Okay, seeing none, we have already amended that to send it to our members of the U.S. House of Representatives. And Carrie, I see you have a hand.
Yes, I took the training that was referenced on Saturday and wanted to point out that we might have too many whereas statements.
Oh, I see.
They recommended between 3 and 5, and we have 7.
So, Carrie, those are the rules for the Washington State Committee,
Okay.
not for the county. So they have their own rules on resolutions and they have a max of 5. I don't believe our rules have how many whereas clauses we can have.
Okay. Super.
And I see a hand from Charlotte K. Namro. Charlotte?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Is it in order to speak in favor of this resolution at this time?
Yes, I think so. I don't think we have any opposition. So yeah, let's go ahead anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. For the record, I'm Charlotte Kane Amaral. I'm a KCDCC member for the 43rd. I'm the sponsor of the resolution from the 43rd. I have said my dues on the 43rd's meeting as one of the I'm not the only openly trans member of the KCDCC, but I'm one of maybe 3 or 4. I think it's important that we make a stand on this. I was able to speak before the Seattle City Council this afternoon in support of a council bill that they were considering regarding Seattle's status as a welcoming city. It is important that we pass this resolution so that we make it clear what our stance is. It goes without saying that it is a systemic erasure of trans identities at the federal level. It's a disenfranchisement of trans people from serving in the armed forces. We are trans people who are getting passports, either renewing their passports or applying for their first passport, are getting their passports with the wrong gender marker, and that's led to me not even getting my passport because of that anecdotal experience. We have kids that are being forced to resume their to resume a puberty that greatly distresses them by being taken off of puberty blockers. It is a dire situation on the federal level, and we need to signal to our elected representatives at every level, local, state, federal, to be on the front lines for this, to stand unapologetically for trans people, non-binary people, gender expansive people. I would urge passage of this resolution. And not just this, we need to do, we need to walk the talk. We need to follow through with actionable items. We need to show up. We need to live what we say. And so with that, I would urge passage of this resolution and yield back. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte. Susan, do you have a question? If you want to speak in favor, I think that we can probably just move along to the vote otherwise. But I recognize you, Susan.
Okay, thank you. No, I totally support this. But I just wonder, like what you just said, I mean, they're doing this. So we pass these resolutions and then and we all agree on this, but then what? I mean, how do we stop this? That's what else can we do? I guess that's where my frustration is in everything they're doing. So yeah, we can show up to protest, we can do this and we can do that, we can do all we can do. But this is insane what's going on. So what else can we do? I guess that's my question with the resolution.
I appreciate that, Susan. Yeah, there's plenty plenty more that we can be doing. Let's just for this moment focus on this resolution, however. And with that, Bunny, are you speaking for or against?
No, when she just said, what can we do? Vote those bastards out. Our job is to elect Democrats, good Democrats, up and down the ticket. And if we do that, we can stop this.
Okay.
All right, let's sounds like we're all in favor of this. I don't see anyone against yet. So I'm going to ask, we have amended this with the line, and so we have passed that. Now let's go ahead and is there anyone with the adjusted amendment? Is anyone in opposition? Sorry. I can't think of the word opposition tonight. Again, any opposition? And for the third time, any opposition? Seeing none, we will consider this resolution passed by acclamation. Thank you, speakers. Thank you for those who have lifted up your voices here for this amendment. Thank you for all who submitted it, and as it's going out to the LDs as well. Okay, that brings us to our next resolution. And I believe to save you a little bit here, Carrie, it looks like perhaps, oh, Hannah is actually on the call now. Okay, Hannah, would you like to speak to your resolution, or let's do this. Do you want to introduce it, Carrie, first? And then we can hand it off to Hannah?
Sure, perfect. Right, our second resolution this evening is resolution calling on Senator Chuck Schumer to resign as minority leader and was presented by Hannah Floss from the LD 48.
And Hannah's here. I'll recognize you, Hannah, just to speak to this and read through.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, I had to drop off for a second. I lost internet. So under Senator Chuck Schumer's leadership, Senate Democrats just surrendered a rare moment of leverage to rein in the chaos and harm of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the congressional Republicans. By voting to advance the GOP government funding bill, the continuing resolution that funds through the government through September, without demanding anything in return, Schumer handed more power to the extremists, destroying the government. This was not just a strategic mistake, it was a demonstration that Schumer is not prepared to lead the Democratic opposition to fascism and protect our democracy. The House Democrats, many of whom are in very vulnerable districts like Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, held strong together to show their opposition, only to be blindsided by Schumer's decision to let the CR move ahead. Schumer's playing by old norms that we are well beyond. We need a Senate Democratic leader who is willing to fight with every means possible, not to cave when the pressure is on. Please vote in support of this resolution.
Okay, so did we need to go through line by line here, or let's see. I'll leave it to Carrie. I think we sort of had a shortened version of this, and I think that's fine by me. Everyone can go through it if they'd like to. We good? Okay, I'm getting a head nod from Carrie. Hannah looks good. Okay, so I will now this counts as a motion and a second coming from our resolutions committee. So do I hear opposition to this resolution? Any opposition to this resolution? Any opposition to this resolution? Okay, seeing none, we will accept this resolution from the King County Democrats. Thank you very much, Hannah, for submitting it. Thank you, Carrie, for doing the work of putting all this together. And, you know, surprisingly, this one was less controversial than the first. Or maybe less to talk about anyway. Okay, that is our resolutions, I believe. Thank you very much, Carrie, and thank you for the folks putting up these resolutions. Very important start to the work here. That will bring us to and you know, personally, I just feel like I want to say both of these are close to my heart. Obviously, trans rights are human rights. You know, we're not a full party if we're not bringing everyone along with us. And so I know there are voices right now who are looking at data and saying, oh, we focus too much and yada yada. We can't leave people behind. That's just not who we are. And I also think that you know, that people are drawing wrong conclusions from that. That said, let's bring it to our chair's report with our chair, Beth Basley. Beth.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I have two short things. One, I really want to thank everybody in the South County who joined me for my coffee at Poverty Bay Cafe. It was fantastic, and there was so much to discuss that we stayed an extra 45 minutes. With that, I'm inviting everybody to join me for my next East Side Coffee, which will be on April 19th at 9 a.m. at Aroma Coffee in Fall City. As you can see, I'm moving around and I will be headed north next, then back into Seattle. Unless those South County folks drag me back there, because that was a really great convo. So thank you everybody who's able to make it, share the camaraderie, and talk about how we as Democrats can move forward in all lanes possible: the protest lane, the electing good Democrats lane, the counseling one another lane, the organizing lane, and sometimes it's just the surviving the day lane. I appreciate it very much. Carolyn, I see your hand is raised, but before that, I would like to make a little good trouble. And I am quite eager to have our candidates be able to interact with the LDs and have their interviews early. I'd like to request of our endorsement chair, Kat Pipkin, and her vice chair / sometimes co-chair, Dean Rodenbaugh, if we can bring back that one questionnaire, adjust that one question and get it passed so that we don't lose a month in those things. I'd like to make a motion that we do that, and I wonder if there's anybody in the room that might second that.
I second it. Sorry, that was Alex. I second the motion to reconsider.
Thank you, Alex. And I see Tim's blue glowing hand rising as well. Thank you. Thank you very much. Carolyn, while I find that to bring it up online, did you have a question for me?
Yes, I do have a question. I didn't get the details of the East Side Coffee. It was April 19th.
April 19th at 9 a.m. at Aroma Coffee in Fall City.
Aroma Coffee, Fall City. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Josh, with that motion and a second, I'd like to ask for your approval and Kat's approval to bring that up.
Absolutely. So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Okay, give me one sec. I'll pull up the actual questionnaire so we can.
I've got the thing I showed earlier. Is that adequate? I'm not sure that it is.
I'm not sure what you were looking at. But just give me one sec here for city attorney.
Seattle City Attorney on the screen.
Okay.
So it sounded like the group was okay with all of the questions. which are now up to 8, and that's quite lengthy. It's longer than we were hoping to be. And the question at hand was altering question 5. I'd like to come back to my suggestion of simply removing the first sentence and having just the question. How would you work effectively with a council and mayor which may not align with all of your views? That would be my recommendation.
I see a hand from our Alex.
I second Beth's motion.
Okay, we have a second. And we do have a hand from Hunter.
Yeah, I was going to motion to amend.
Okay, we have a motion to the motion. So I think we should first go with the motion that we have on hand, which is our just removing the first sentence. So let's go with that first and see how we can amend after that. Any opposition to removing the first sentence in line 5?
Point of order.
Point of order from Tim Burns.
Yeah, the second motion to amend is in proper order and should be addressed first.
Do we agree, Alex? I think it sounds right to me.
I guess I was unclear what Hunter is trying to amend. Is he trying to amend the amendment proposed by Beth, or is it a separate amendment that Hunter is bringing forward?
We could do mine as a separate amendment to just streamline this.
Okay. All right. Any opposition? Any opposition? And any opposition? Actually, let me start over. What is on the table right now is simply to remove the first line in line 5, which is since 2023, the Democratic mayor and the majority of the Democratic City Council adopted a more moderate stance. Any opposition? Kat, I see a hand.
Oh, sorry. I was so what Beth is moving is that we reintroduce this questionnaire and modify question 5, correct?
Yes, thank you.
And we need a second on that because I withdrew it.
It was seconded by Alex.
Got it. Okay.
And Mary, we have a hand up.
Yeah, this is sort of, I guess, a point of information. I personally think that I think the first part of the question is leading, but I actually kind of think that the current phrasing of the second part of the question is also leading. And so I actually was going to suggest a different wording for the second part of the question, but I realized that Hunter may already have something for that. So I guess my question is there some way that my alternate wording could be entertained, or should I wait for what Hunter was going to say?
Let's go to Alex with a hand up, thankfully.
Just a really quick point of order, Josh. I think before we get into actually discussing and debating the amendments we're going to make to the questionnaire, we should vote on the original motion on the floor to reconsider.
Okay. All right. Yep, I am in agreement here. So first motion on the floor is simply to reconsider this part of the endorsement questionnaire packet. Can I get does anyone move for that?
Beth already made the motion, and it's already moved and seconded, so it's just
Sorry, yeah.
not anyone,
Okay, then let's go to
disagrees.
yeah, apologies. So any opposition? Any opposition to the removal of this line? We have Aaron Schrader.
Yes, I'm opposed.
Aaron is opposed, so we will need to move to oh, okay. And we have a hand from Tara Gallagher.
Yeah, could we please put the questions back on the screen?
I can see it.
They're still being screen shared.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to take any more hands at this time because we have a vote, or we actually will have to go into competing speeches for this. So
first, I think we have to approve by, I hope, everybody's consent to readdress this
Yeah. In fact, yeah, that was
I thought someone objected to doing it by acclamation.
Aaron objected, I think, to the line. Aaron, can you repeat your objection, please?
That's a good question. I think I object. Okay, I object to bringing this thing forward to discussion right now, actually, as a whole.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So at this point, Alex, your recommendation.
We'll have a for and against bringing it back for consideration.
Simply bring it back for consideration. Okay. Do I have a hand for bringing this back to consideration? The Seattle City Attorney and the rest of the packet. Okay. First hand I saw was Tyler Crone. So Tyler, if we can put 1 minute on the clock, let's get moving.
Terrific. Thank you so much. As a chair in Seattle, it would be very helpful to us to be able to set up the interviews for the city attorney sooner rather than later, as that race is now full. And so just in terms of the workload and being able to involve our membership, I would really love to have this voted on tonight, as I don't see a substantive issue with that question. So thank you so much to Chair Baisley for bringing this back for consideration, and to the endorsement team for all the hard work on it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. Do we have a voice against? Okay, Aaron, please go ahead.
Okay.
And 1 minute, sorry.
No worries. Thank you. So I understand the need to interview candidates and have lead time. This is one position with only one office out of the 300 some positions otherwise that questionnaires have been approved for. So all committees will be able to do the bulk of their work regardless of this one position. In terms of process, I think the questions get better editing with the care that can be given in the course of a meeting with several people that are focused on it, versus the somewhat limiting process that we go through, the amending right here of text and editing text through amendments. So I really think we'll see a better question if we can just get it back to committee and bring it forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. And I see a hand from Alex. Are you speaking in favor?
Yes, Josh, I'm speaking in favor of the motion.
Great, go ahead.
So essentially, the reason why we need to vote on this questionnaire right now, as the chair of my LD very eloquently put it, is because it limits our ability to actually have conversations about the race. This is what's going to be a very contested race. This is a full race. There are 3 people mounting very credible campaigns for this race, and it does a disservice both to us as an LD and all of the Seattle LDs, as well as to the candidates, to then constrain them in how they're able to come and interact with the different legislative districts and actually be able to participate in the endorsement process. This essentially only gives us about a week to be able to actually schedule this interview to happen, and it's essentially tying our hands by not allowing us to consider it in a timely fashion.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Hunter, are you speaking against?
Yes.
All right, we have 1 minute. Please begin when you are ready. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what the other person said about providing more time to have a thoughtful questionnaire. There's another question that I plan on editing because it doesn't seem to the preface doesn't seem to have any place or add to it. So I think we'd get stronger questions if we went back to the drawing board on this just a little bit. Really appreciate the work of the committee thus far. There's just a couple things. And as one of the chairs of one of the Seattle LDs, I would like to also say that this doesn't hold us up in our endorsement process. There are plenty of questions that we can ask candidates should we choose to in the meantime, that we don't need the questionnaire for. And there's nothing that stops us from using the questions as is because they've been shared with us already. So we can use those in our interview process should we choose to, while we develop this questionnaire further. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification for Hunter. This is the written questionnaire provided. So we would ask that you not use them in your interviews with candidates, because we'll be providing it as their written questionnaire, which some LDs require in advance of interviews.
All right, we have had 2 speakers for and 2 speakers against the motion on the floor, which is to reconsider this section of the resolution, or sorry, the endorsements packet. We will need to go to a vote with our react the same way we did before. So I will go through the rules again here. Basically, you want to go down to your toolbar on the bottom and hit react. And we are looking for a green check mark or a red X. The motion on the floor is to consider this section for the Seattle City Attorney for the endorsements packet. So I will give about 60 seconds for us to vote now if we want to reconsider or not.
Point of clarification, Josh, just making sure we're voting on the entire questionnaire with Beth's amendment. Is that correct?
No, we are just voting to reconsider if we want to vote basically on those changes for these endorsements, for that endorsement.
Whether or not to move forward tonight.
Yes,
Thank
that's
you.
correct.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure. Okay, I'll give about 30 more seconds here. Okay, and I'll go to credentials. I see that it looks like we have a clear majority, but want to make sure there's no chance of the noes superseding the yeses in this case.
Correct.
Okay.
I see 19 credentialed yeses and 9 credentialed noes.
All right, so the motion passes. We will open this back up for consideration, the endorsements packet in general to start with. Okay, let's clear our votes. And we can get back to the section, Beth, for which you have an amendment you would like to make.
Yes, thank you. Would you like me to share that screen?
If you can, that'd be great.
Yeah. I would like to return to my original suggestion of eliminating the first sentence and simply going to what is basically a question we ask of many candidates of if they're in a work group where not everybody agrees with them, how would they get along with everybody? But in this case, we've said, how would you work effectively with a council and a mayor, which might not align with all of your views? Clearly in this group, we see that we don't all align all the time, but knowing how somebody would work in that situation is valuable.
Okay, so Beth, will this count as a motion to remove that, or do we need a motion from the body? I will entertain a motion from the body to remove the line, since 2023, the Democratic mayor and the majority of the Democratic City Council adopted a more moderate stance in order to get at the heart of the issue with the second part of it.
So moved.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
All right, we have moved by Beth, second by Bunny. That line, the first sentence in line 5 there has been removed. I will entertain any other motions for updating. Okay, any other updates people would like to make? Mary and Hunter. Let's go Mary first.
Okay, so if I had a potential other way to phrase the second part of that question, would it be in order for me to provide that or suggest that? I don't know what the proper.
Well, so I would say that, yeah, currently where we're at, that first sentence is basically gone.
Right, yeah.
So the motion would be, yeah, the motion then would be to revise line 5 to say whatever you would want it. Yeah.
Correct. So how would I do that? Should I read it? Should I
Yeah, you can make a motion, read it, and maybe also put it in the chat here. If you can just send it to me, or if we can't send it to everyone, then I can get it out to everyone.
I'll tell you what, Josh, can I share? I've got the document up and I'm doing some strike throughs so people can see what things look like. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
that'd be great. Okay, and I am,
Okay.
yeah. And in the chat here is what Mary's motion is, which changes the number 5 to in the event that the views of other city council members and or the mayor did not align with your own views, how would you plan to work effectively with those individuals?
Could I speak very briefly on that? Or
let me first ask if there's any opposition to this. I see 2 raised hands, but I need to know if there is opposition.
You need a second.
And I will also need a second.
I will second it.
Thank you, Hunter. Apologies. Okay, the motion on the floor has a second, has been moved in a second. Is there any opposition? Hunter, Tim, are those hands for opposition? No? Any opposition?
I did have what might be a friendly amendment, but you can discard it, Mary. I posted this in the chat to you about 15 minutes ago, Josh.
Yeah, let me put
that was my original language. I assumed that we would go back to me, but yeah.
Okay. So does that count as an opposition to this, Hunter?
No, it'd be an amendment to Mary's amendment, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But if Mary doesn't like it, I'll withdraw it.
Oh, I can't read it.
Let me put it, so I just put in the chat, everyone here. Do you have views that differ from the current mayor and city council? If so, what are they and how would you work with the council and mayor on those views/priorities? And the reason I'm asking this, Mary, if you happen to like that one, we can.
Right. I will say that is a slightly different question because it's more specific than the way I had phrased it, but I do not have a problem with it, and I think that is a completely valid other way to do it. So yes, it's good.
Okay. In that case, the motion on the floor, and Mary, if this is fine, we are going to amend your motion to Hunter's motion essentially, which is to replace it with the line which is currently most recent in the chat. Do you have views that differ from the current mayor and city council? If so, what are they and how would you work with the council and mayor on those views and priorities? And I would ask a second on that one.
I second it. This is Alex.
Thank you, Alex. Any opposition to this line?
Yes, I'm opposed. This is Kat.
Kat is opposed. Okay. So we will need to go to conversations here. Does anyone want to speak for this amendment?
I have a question.
Point of information, yep.
Yes, it says, do you have views that differ from the current mayor and city council? Oh, it's been changed. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, the text we're amending now is, do you have views that differ from the current mayor and city council? If so, what are they and how would you work with the council and mayor on those views/priorities?
Okay, never mind. Mine was about a previous version.
Gotcha. So would anyone speak in favor of this motion? Hunter or Tim? Tim, you have your hand up first. What was your?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a different amendment that I'm not able to put in the chat. I can't figure out how to get it to go to everyone.
Okay, you can send
but
that to me and then I can send it to everyone after we vote on this motion, if that works for you.
Yeah, I send it to Beth and hopefully it'll reach you.
That'll work. All right. So speaking in favor of this motion, we have Hunter. Hunter, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I just think that the point of this was to, find out how they would work with the council. But I also think it's important to know the context in which they might be working uphill, so to speak, against the council and mayor that may disagree with them. And so I think that their strategies may differ depending on what that subject is. And then I also think it's important to just understand where they do in fact differ and if there's any other areas beyond possibly just soap or soda, which are mentioned above, wherein they might have differing viewpoints and how that may come about and where they will prioritize their efforts in the attorney's office in order to perform the functions of that duty while also acknowledging that some of the guidance they're given may be possibly misguided and not a best use of resources or funds. Thanks.
Thank you, Hunter. And speaking in opposition, Kat.
Yeah, I guess I would have to do it this way. Hello, it's me and the timer. We go to, as Beth said, we go to great lengths to ask a single question per question in a questionnaire. This is now 3 questions. It's grown from 2 to 3. This is exactly why we take our time to hammer it out off, off sides. Hunter, with all the respect and love in the world, we've asked you many times to participate and you haven't. Your LD has not contributed to this process at all. So, I mean, we'd be happy to have the conversation with all of the LDs. It becomes a very bad question when it's 3 questions. It's very difficult for them to answer that in 1,200 words. I'll just say that.
Okay, thank you, Kat. Any other speakers in favor? Okay, any other speakers? I see Dean. Dean, are you speaking in favor?
Against.
Okay, I think we don't need an against until we have another favor. If we have another 4. Doesn't look like we have another 4. So I see Mary with your hand up.
Yes, I'm not entirely sure I understand what the objection to the question is. It's that it's too wordy or complicated. I just don't see it quite that same way, and I am fully appreciative of the fact that we're coming late to this process, but we're here now, and I just hope that we can entertain this in the spirit in which it was intended.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Okay, then we have Dean for speaking against, and as always, 1 minute.
Sure. I was one of the folks who crafted the question. The reason for the question is one of the leading Democratic candidates for the race is advocating very progressive policies. He does not recognize the fact that there may not be a progressive majority. So I wrote it the way that I did because he's assuming he's espousing things he can get accomplished, which may not be easy to do. The other consideration is there is a 1,200 character count to these responses. So do you have views that differ from the current mayor and city council? You wouldn't really get to cover very much in the abbreviated time slot in a written questionnaire question. So I would advocate to just go with the question as written.
Thank you, Dean. Okay, we have had 2 speakers for, 2 speakers against. Seeing the time, I think we should go ahead and move to the vote. So if you'll join me in moving again to the reaction panel, the motion on the floor is to replace line 5, which currently just reads, how would you work effectively with a could you bring that back up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if it was visible or not, so I wanted to just reshare. Here we go. Can you guys see it now?
Yeah. So right now it's just how would you work effectively with a council and mayor which may not align with all of your views. Motion on the floor is to change it to, do you have views that differ from the current mayor and city council? If so, what are they, and how would you work with the council and mayor on those views/priorities? So the amendment is to change the dark yellow background at the bottom. How would you work effectively with the council and mayor to what I just read? Any points of information or questions before I move to a vote? Just making sure that everyone's clear here.
Which is yes, which is no.
Yes is we will replace with the words that are currently not blocked out. Do you have views that differ from the current mayor and city council? If so, what are they, and how would you work with the council mayor on those views/priorities? Okay, let us move to our React panel. 1 minute here for yes, green check, or no, red X. Okay, I said a minute, about 20 seconds in.
Oh, sorry, I can put that timer back up for.
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. I was just saying I think we're seeing a clear trend here. Want to make sure everyone gets a chance to vote. I'll head off to the credentials. Credentials, how are we looking?
It has stabilized, so if everybody that wants to vote, it has been able to vote. It is, there's nobody non-credentialed voting. Oh, no, we did just get one non-credential vote. So it is currently 9 credentialed yeses and 21 credentialed nos.
Okay. Thank you. Looks like I'm not seeing numbers really tick up from there. That means the motion fails. It remains the one unchanged line in line 5 after we deleted that first line. We can clear the votes here and move on. Okay. Let's see. So any other amendments to this? Basically to the endorsement questionnaire here. So I see Aaron Schrader's hand is still raised. Before that, let's go back to Tim, who I called on before. Beth, do you have Tim's amendment?
Tim.
Point of order.
Point of order, yep.
I actually have 2 points of order. The first is to just acknowledge I feel like I should have been able to respond to what I felt was a personal attack, accusing me of not participating in a process which is exclusionary. Meeting on Mondays from 3 to 4 p.m. is very exclusionary. I work a day job. That's why I couldn't participate in the meetings when they are offered. My second point of order is to point out that my amendment to Mary's amendment failed. Mary's amendment is currently on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter.
Mary, perhaps Mary can repeat her amendment because I lost.
Look, I can read the room. I'll withdraw mine. We can move ahead.
Mary, I think yours was in the event that, was that what you were suggesting, in the event that the views of the other city council members and or the mayor did not align with your own views? How would you plan to work effectively with those individuals?
Yes.
Was that your let me go back to. So it would be this, correct?
Yes. But I am sensitive to the time. I doubt whether my suggestion would prevail. So I'm happy to withdraw it and we can move on.
Okay, if you're sure, we can withdraw this motion that is currently on the floor.
I think right now we don't have a sentence. Is that correct? Because we've struck the other one. But
we still have the second half of 5. Yeah, we struck the first sentence. We still have the second sentence.
So my interpretation then was that Mary's suggestion was a replacement.
That would have been yes, but
yeah. So I would be, I would second that.
I think she withdrew it. Am I wrong? Mary, if you don't want to withdraw, that's fine.
Point of order, I don't think it can be withdrawn once it's been seconded.
Okay.
And if I could just ask,
Alex, do you have an opinion on that?
Is what's on the screen reflective of what's currently on the floor?
So yes, what's on the screen currently is Mary's amendment, and Hunter is correct. Once the amendment is seconded, the amendment no longer belongs to the sponsor, but it belongs to the body. So it's up to the body to consider the amendment.
Very good. Okay, in that case, we have On the floor, number 5, leadership. In the event that the views of other city council members and or the mayor did not align with your own views, how would you plan to work effectively with those individuals? Did we get a second for this one?
Yes, we did.
Very good. Is there opposition to this?
I have a question.
Go ahead,
Um,
Karen, with your point of
Okay,
information.
I'm not clear on the makeup of the city council here. In the event that the views of other city council members. Now, is the city attorney a council member?
No.
Oh, right.
All right, that has been stricken. We are at, in the event that the views of city council members and or the mayor did not align with your own views, how would you plan to work effectively with those individuals? Okay, we have a motion and a second. We had a point of information to correct the other since this is not a city council position. Anyone opposed to this? Anyone opposed to the amendment? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, by acclamation, I think we can approve line 5 reading in the event that the views of city council members and or the mayor did not align with your own views. How would you plan to work effectively with those individuals? We got there. Thank you very much, folks.
Now I think that brings the question to the floor to approve this full questionnaire for Seattle City Attorney.
I believe before we had an amendment and a hand raise from Tim, who was waiting to submit his.
Yes, Tim was amending to say to include the phrase to promote strong democratic values. In the
Okay.
event that the views of city council members and or the mayor did not align with your views, how would you plan to work effectively with those individuals to promote strong democratic values?
Okay.
Actually, it started right after the word mayor, to promote strong democratic values. I'm a proponent of electing Democrats and not Democrats in name only. And I think this is important that we pay attention to in the future, that the situation we're in right now is rather catastrophic in that we've lowered the bar. That's all.
Okay. Gotcha. So our amendment is to add, exactly where did you want this added? You said after the mayor?
I'm sorry, I muted. Yes, after the word mayor, but that sentence is gone now, so it's obsolete.
Okay. So are you revoking your motion, or did you want to add to it?
Well, no, I don't believe that my motion is applicable in
Oh,
that
I see what you're saying. Okay.
the sentence is gone.
So the whole sentence is gone. The sentence is now, in the event that the views of city council members and or the mayor did not align with your own views, how would you plan to work effectively with those individuals? And then we could add, if this is your amendment, to promote strong democratic values.
That would work.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
see a hand from Alex.
I was going to make a different motion, but we can consider this, and I'll second it just to move us along quickly.
Great, thank you. Any opposition to this amendment to add to promote strong democratic values after work effectively with those individuals?
I would like to make one slight editorial change. This is Judy.
Okay. So does this first, let's clear this sentence. Does that actually affect the sentence we're currently working on?
Yeah, I would like to change did, which is past tense, to do. It's a minor editorial change, but it would strengthen it. If you put something in the present tense, it strengthens it.
Okay.
If you had that the views do not align with your own views, how would you work effectively?
Okay. So we have a motion on our motion. Do we have, or actually I should say, do we have a motion to make this present tense did to do?
I so move.
Okay, do
Seconded by Beth.
all right. Any opposition to changing from did to do? Any opposition? Any opposition? Okay, let's resolve that. That is accepted. And this brings us back to Tim's motion on the floor, adding to promote strong democratic values after how would you plan to work effectively with those individuals? Do we have opposition? Any opposition? Any opposition? Seeing none, this change has also been accepted with a second from Alex. And now we have another hand from Alex, I think, for a motion.
Yes, Josh, I move to adopt the questionnaire.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the questionnaire. Do we have a second?
Josh,
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. I see a hand from Hunter.
The motion to adopt was already under consideration. I'm not sure if Alexander was trying to call the question. I'd taken my hand down so you didn't get confused, but I did have two other amendments.
Okay, so the motion on the floor, which Alex has reintroduced, and we probably need a second for, is accepting these endorsements. Or I'm sorry, not endorsements, the endorsement questionnaire. Is there any opposition?
I'll second. This is Kat.
Great, you've seconded. Is there opposition?
I oppose to adopting at this point.
All right. Hunter has opposed because he, as mentioned, has another amendment to add, but we still have this question on the floor. So does anyone want to speak to adopting the endorsements packet as it currently is? Aaron, I see a hand.
I really do have a point of order. This something feels wrong about what's happening right now. I thought the original motion was reconsidering, which is the whole thing we're being debated. So I don't think we need to move to vote on it when it's already being considered. I really think we're in the period of debate and amendments.
I agree with Aaron. The thing we passed was reopening.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, so the motion is out of order. Let's return to amendments. Hunter?
I first just have a point of information before I move. The first sentence in question 7, I think could just be stricken, but I want to first ask if there is a reason behind it and if the question can't be bolstered by that.
Is that for the committee to respond to?
Technically, everything goes to the chair, but I would hand it over to the for the committee for a response. Sure.
Yeah, we thought it was meaningful as a committee to provide context for why we're asking the question. So we're just drawing upon public information to talk about why we would raise a civil litigation question. So we're just providing context on a subject. It was as simple as that.
Okay, thank you. I would just move to strike that.
Okay, we have a movement to strike that. Do we have this to strike? In July 2024, Monsanto agreed to pay Seattle $160 million to settle a lawsuit over the contamination of the Duwamish River. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, Alex seconds. Any opposition?
I oppose. This is Beth.
Okay, Beth opposes. Do we want to have conversations, or in the interest of time, do we want to go ahead to vote? I'm not really sure. I just threw that out there. Alex, tell me if this is good or not.
I'm okay with going to a vote. Because people have already heard me say our best practice is to offer a statement that sets the tone and a second question, and then the second line that asks the question.
Okay. So I will
Yep, given there is an argument for, could I argue, or an argument against, could I argue for?
let's see, yeah, for 10 seconds, as that's what Beth took. Or we can reset and go to a minute. I don't want to be unfair
No,
here.
that's fine. 10 seconds is all I need. It doesn't add substantial context. It's an open question. I don't think that it serves any real meaning.
All right, so we have a comment for and a comment for again and against. We have a second for the motion on the floor. Let's move to voting. Basically, the green this time will be to vote in favor of removing the line. In July 2024, Monsanto agreed to pay Seattle $160 million to settle a lawsuit over the contamination of the Duwamish River. The red X is in favor of not removing. Sorry, yeah, it means don't remove it. So green, remove. Red, don't remove.
I need to stop sharing for a second in order to vote.
Sure. Okay, credentials, please let us know when we've hit critical mass.
Oh, it would help if I was not muted. It looks stable and it is 21 credentialed, no, 6 credentialed. Yes, the motion fails.
Okay, if the motion fails, the line remains in line 7. The sentence remains in the 7th here. Okay, any other motions? I see Hunter.
Yeah, just to strike in number 8, the second half of the question, or alternatives to incarceration.
Okay, motion on the floor is in 8, the last line, removing or alternatives to incarceration. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Can you, can you please, okay, thank you, because you had shifted it so we couldn't see it. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't raise sorry I spoke without raising my hand, but I wanted to catch it.
Thank you, Judy. So I'm sorry, who was the second? Was that also
Lisa.
Oh, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, we have a second from Lisa. Any opposition to removing or alternatives to incarceration? Any opposition? Any opposition? Okay, then we will go ahead and remove that line. Basically, by unanimous consent here. Alex, I see a hand.
Thank you, Josh. I move to close debate on the questionnaire.
Seconded by Beth.
Okay, any opposition to closing debate on the endorsement packet? Any opposition and any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes. And we can move on. Thank you very much, everyone, for a spirited debate and helping make this a little bit better. Let's take a look at our next bit of business.
Point of order, we need to actually, we just.
Oh, yes.
Debate. We need to vote on the actual questionnaire.
Good point. Thank you. Let's adopt, I will entertain a motion to adopt this questionnaire for endorsements.
So moved.
Okay, I have a so moved and a second.
Second.
Okay.
Hunter Brown.
Great, thank you. Second from Hunter. Any opposition? Any opposition? Any opposition? All right. By unanimous consent, we will adopt this endorsements questionnaire. We did it. All right. So last bit of words from me, I swear. Once again, and finally, I'd like to mention that we are fully supporting the April 5th Day of Action protests. Check the KCDIMS calendar on our website for many options of how you can participate. We've noted 7 protests, the hands-off, full list of rallies. And again, our fundraiser to support the school board candidates has been moved to Saturday, June 14th. So we can now move to new business. or good of the order. I'm not sure if we can combine them because I'm not sure if we have either. I see a hand from Charlotte Kane Amaro. Charlotte.
Point of information, we're in good of the order now, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I have one thing that I want to mention. I think I had a second one, but I can't forget what it was.
Oh, hold on one sec. I'm sorry. I would think I was meant to put up a timer. I'm so sorry, Charlotte. What was I supposed to put up a timer, Josh?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, sorry about that, Charlotte, and Kat. Let's get 1 minute up there so that we're not keeping people too long here.
Right. I will wait until I get to see a timer on my screen, which I do not yet.
Oh, are you not seeing the?
Nope.
No.
Oh, I know what's going on. Could somebody
There we
please
go.
spotlight
We're
me?
good.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I just wanted to share the very good news that today there was a special election in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for a vacant state Senate seat from somebody who went to go work for Senator Dave McCormick. It was a ruby red district with no Democrat running against the incumbent state senator in 2022. Tonight, the Democrat won by just under 500 votes. So we have flipped that ruby red district and kept control of the Pennsylvania State Senate. Massive props to the Pennsylvania Dems and the Lancaster County Dems. And the other special election that was held in the Pennsylvania State House was a Harris 16 district. And the Democrat won by, I believe, 30 points, 30 percentage points. And it's important to note that the Senate district, which was flipped, was a Trump 15 district, which was flipped by 500 votes. So just wanted to share some good news.
All right. Thank you for that. Very refreshing. Hunter, I see your hand.
Yeah, I actually had new business, but it looks like we lost about 36% of the folks. So I'm just going to go right to good of the order and save it for next time. And just wanted to say thank you so much, Josh. Really appreciate you. You did a great job chairing the meeting. And thanks to the work of the endorsement committee. But just would like to see a little bit more opportunities for inclusion and remote access. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Hunter. I see a hand from Tara. Tara.
Yeah, hi. During the discussion of the transgender rights resolution, someone asked what more could we be doing to support trans people? First of all, excellent question, which should be asked for a lot of resolutions. Second of all, one thing that can be done to support trans people is to support the Gender Justice League. I'm trying to get a link into the chat. It's genderjusticeleague.org. They do a lot of work to support trans people, ranging from suing the Trump administration to having Trans Advocacy Day in Olympia to putting on the Trans Pride Festival in June. And please go to the website, please donate, sign up for the mailing list to find out what else you can be doing to support trans people. If you have more questions about Gender Justice League, Galaxy Marshall, who is one of the KCD reps from the 46, is on the board. You can contact Galaxy for more information also, but please do support the Gender Justice League. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shara. I've put that in the chat here for everyone to be able to go to. The chat is now open to everyone, by the way. Melissa Taylor, I see a hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to recognize that we had two big losses in our political community this past week. Former Speaker of the House, Frank Chop, passed away, as did a media personality and commentator and activist, Cindy Bright. So my Facebook feed is full of memories and tributes to both of them, and wanted to make sure that folks were aware of those passings and could reach out to folks they know who are impacted by them.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Well said. I see a hand from Ian Jacobson. Ian.
Hey folks, just wanted to share we have an emergency situation in the immigrant community. One of our labor leaders up in the Mount Vernon area, one of the co-founders of the Farm Workers United union effort, was detained by ICE this afternoon. So there was a big rally up in Ferndale earlier where he was being held, but he was then transported this evening. We assume he's going to the main detention center in Tacoma. So there's likely going to be a big rally tomorrow in Tacoma in support of him. So if folks are looking for something to do tomorrow, I'm sure it'll be all over your favorite social media platform with the immigrants' rights advocacy groups.
Thank you very much, Ian. Very important. Yeah, thank you for letting us know. That's breaking news for me. I see a hand from Rye Armstrong. Rye.
Hi, everyone. Just going to keep it short. I know it's late. Just want to say hi. KCYD is back up. I was, I think, supposed to be the King County Dems rep for the last 9 months, and I'm really glad to be here now. And yeah, reach out if you need anything. And thanks for the time. Have a good evening.
Awesome. Thank you, Rye. And I see a hand from Tim Noonan. Tim?
Hi, a big thank you to Diana Phillips and Eric Burden, Beth, and everyone else who worked on putting that budget together. It is a huge job, and trying to project what could be and what we may make happen is quite a task. And thank you all for doing that work.
Very true, and I second that. Thank you, everyone, for that work. Any other good of the order? All right. Any others? Any other? I'm not seeing any good of the order, and that means that at 9:07, I would entertain a motion to close this meeting and adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Taylor.
Second.
Yeah, quite a bit of seconds on that one. Thanks, guys. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your night. Thank you for being here and doing this hard work, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night.
Thank you, Josh.
Good night.
Appreciate everyone here. Thank you.
Josh,
Thanks, Josh.
hats off to you. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you.